Fantasy football podcast called Living the Stream comes to you each week. Streaming recommendations during NFL season, it's not just tongue-in-cheek. Quarterback, defense, tight end recommendations based on opposition matchup. Here are your podcast hosts, JJ Zacharyson and Danny Carter, living the stream.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Living the Stream. I'm JJ Zacharyson, the lay-round quarterback, and as always, I am joined by my lovely, also gray shirt wearing co-host, Denny Carter. Denny, what's going on, buddy?
I noticed that. I was going to say, I'm going to use that old boomer joke. Did you get the memo?
Yeah, right.
Gray shirt memo.
Yeah, the gray shirt invitation that we both talked about before the show.
How many gray t-shirts do you own?
Many, probably. What do you think your ratio of gray and not gray is?
That's a good question.
Or sorry, just colors in general.
Colors in general.
Like what do you think? What do you think your number one is? Gray your number one?
I would say gray is number one because I have like a gray Bowie t-shirt. I have this shirt basically in like 4 different kinds of like gray shades.
Yeah.
Shades of gray, some would say.
Well, as folks know, I've gone the Steve Jobs route, the Doug Funny route, if you will, of wearing the same thing over and over again. I usually just wear Dickies tees every day because it just makes my life easier and they fit fine. This is actually a late round fantasy football t-shirt. This one.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I'm repping the brand a little bit today.
You are representing the brand. This is just a regular t-shirt. I did notice, JJ, that my medium t-shirts are not exactly fitting as well as they used to. So we are moving on to H&M large.
So you're officially a large boy.
I'm a large boy.
I'm a large. I've been a large boy for my adult life.
I'm a large.
Actually, I think I've been a large boy since maybe sophomore year of high school. I've just been a large. There might have even been an XL time frame, but I'm just a large.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you're also taller than me, so you know. It makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway,
I'm not like my dad wears XL, and he's probably 20 pounds lighter than me.
Oh, really?
And an inch taller than me. But I feel like boomers,
they just like that extra room.
Boomers like the extra room, and it's usually like a dry fit kind of thing for him. Like he likes exercise and moving around.
He wants to show he's an active old man.
Bright colors. I don't know. I feel like probably 30 to maybe 40% of my clothes are gray, black, white, mostly gray and black.
I have gray, black, and white, big time for me. I still sometimes. Do you have like concert t-shirts at all?
I don't have. I would say the equivalent of concert t-shirts for me are Pittsburgh sports t-shirts.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it did that thing where it gives me the thumbs up.
That was weird.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I need to turn that off. Someone told me. Oh, you know what? I might have to actually now refresh. So you have to keep talking to the folks while I refresh.
Oh yeah, you're frozen. Yeah. So for folks just listening to this in podcast form, a little bubble with a thumbs up emoji just popped up over JJ's face almost, and it was very confusing. And JJ's back.
Yeah, I'm back. This is gonna be really good for the audio listeners. They're gonna really get a lot out of that.
Well, I just explained what happened, so they're up to date.
Okay, good. How are you feeling today? Everything, it's a pretty normal day. Not a whole lot going on in our worlds. There's no trade deadline. Yeah.
Very nervous about the trade deadline. Really just checking for updates all the time, checking for new data on the trade deadline, and really just stressing about the trade dedeadline.
Yeah, and trying to see how many people are interested in the trade deadline.
I do want to see, how that breaks down, per state. Hey, people in Pennsylvania, are they interested in the Steelers trading for Mike Williams? I'm looking into it strong.
Yeah, right. And how many of them are female? How many of them are male? What kind of what race are they?
Is there a gap?
Yeah, right. And how big is that gap between how many men are into that Mike Williams trade versus how many women are into that Mike Williams trade?
I'm looking into Nevada, and seeing how they feel about Norv Turner coming onto the staff, and seeing how that pans out.
For some reason though, I haven't really cared much maybe I'm a little bit interested in what's going on with the Commanders and their Virginia fans, but like their DC fans, I'm not that big. I don't really care about how they feel about the Marshawn Lattimore trade.
They're pretty much on the same page over there in Virginia.
Yeah, you would think. Some people disagree though. Some people think that they're not on the same page, and so
well, let me tell you.
so I'm just curious to see how they're feeling about that Lattimore trade.
I know some Commanders fans in the Virginia area, and they are mostly just on the same page today, which is of course the trade deadline.
Right. Of course. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot going on, and I feel like this has to be, for people who are politically aware, this has to be a stressful day for literally everyone for a lot of different reasons. This isn't a partisan thing to say. It's just a very stressful time in our country and lives, and I think a lot of people have not been productive. And
it's hard, man.
It's been difficult for me. I've had to like get a podcast done today. I got my rest of season rankings that I got out. Like, you got to do it. The grind don't stop for elections, man. The grind
does not.
Yes.
I mean, I was looking at regression data this morning, and I'm like, guy, this is the last thing I want to do.
Like how can we possibly it's just the time. Like, you can't not do stuff during football season. Like this, you have to just the expectation. And look, we are fortunate that this is our job, that we get to work in this.
Yeah,
like, no one's complaining. But the expectation is that there's going to be that content. Like, it's going to be there on that day. Like, I've thought about this before, and I'm like, man, listeners of like the Late Round podcast, especially, obviously we do one episode a week with Living the Stream, but like listeners with the Late Round podcast, the expectation is just that they will wake up in the morning during football season, during the week, and there will be a 15 to 20 minute episode sitting there in their podcast feed.
That's exactly it. And the consumption doesn't stop, whether we're holding elections or we're grinding over trade deadlines or whatever. The consumption never stops.
The trade deadline stuff, have you been surprised by anything? I mean, there hasn't been like huge names. But I think the biggest surprise was probably the Jonathan Mingo trade today, right?
I mean, what is that? Like, what?
It's just bizarre.
A fourth rounder? Like, DeAndre Hopkins went for that, right?
Yeah, and I understand the financial side of the economics of those kinds of deals, where it's like, okay, you get Jonathan Mingo for a couple years on his rookie deal and this and that, but it's like there has to be a point where like you don't only focus on economics in those instances, and you're saying, what is he actually contributing to my team?
Yeah.
Right. You can't just be like, I'm going to trade for anyone on a rookie deal,
right?
Who was a second round pick at one point. I'm just going to trade for him just because. Like, there has to be. Look what DeAndre Hopkins did last night. There has to be a value add to that team in some way.
So I feel like this is like when like a fantasy player, takes a receiver in the second round, right? But then also it takes a receiver in like the seventh round. And then the seventh rounder is like immediately much better than the second rounder, right? Like getting more targets, like a better profile, better team, offense, whatever. But you keep playing the second rounder because he was supposed to be good, and it's like, no, you gotta adjust your take on the situation. And the Cowboys did not do that. The Cowboys apparently reportedly very high on Jonathan Mingo coming out of college, right? You should not be high on him anymore.
Yeah, right. Like we have a sample of Mingo. By the way, Mingo was not a good prospect. Like he was always overdrafted.
Right.
His production profile sucked. He was not a good prospect. And actually, Xavier Legette kind of comped, like was relatively similar to Jonathan Mingo. Like I think Legette's better than Mingo. But it was a similar kind of profile. I think Mingo is more of a slot than they've allowed him to be. Maybe Dallas allows that more, but CeeDee Lamb plays plenty in the slot. Like, it's not going to be this, like, I just don't see this as like a slam dunk move whatsoever. I would be shocked if Jonathan Mingo really works out. And I'm like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, you really needed to send a 4th round pick to get him? I don't get it.
I feel like you could have gotten away with like a 6th.
Yeah, right. You would assume so, but like, I don't know, man. Like at some point, like obviously people are making the connections of like Deontay Johnson and what he went for, which, you got to sign him at the end of the year if you want to retain him and whatever. But then there's like compensatory pick type stuff, and like there's that side of it. But at some point, you need actual production. It's no different in like Dynasty, right?
Yeah.
I preach all the time to people that in Dynasty, there's two sort of pillars to a player's overall value. There's his market value, which matters from the standpoint of just having a valuable roster, but then there's production, right? I know that I'm bad at eventually getting to the production side of things. I'm very, very good at gobbling up a lot of value on my dynasty team, right? Like I know how to do that, but then it's very hard to kind of flip that and go to, oh, well, I need to win now, right?
Yeah.
Like I need to, I need to get guys who are producing.
Yeah.
And it seems like what the Cowboys are doing is trying to do the former with gobbling up value, but they're doing it with a player that has a low probability to hit. You know, it's just it was a very bizarre trade.
Well, what do we call it? Take lock, right? And
yeah,
it seems like the Cowboys have take lock on Jonathan Mingo, who has been bad by any measure.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know how you look at what he's done and you're like, oh yeah, this guy is good and he's going to contribute to our team. Like, why is this going to be any different than, Jalen Tolbert?
It's a very poorly run team. Obviously it's Jerry Jones's fantasy football team. And he's not a good fantasy player.
It's also ridiculous that they just continue
to
do absolutely nothing at running back.
What is the plan?
I mean, Rico Dowdle is fine. He's literally the definition of like a replacement level running back, in my opinion. Like he's fine, but the fact that like Khalil Herbert was sitting there, you knew that he was sitting there. And by the way, that was also another weird move. Let's just talk about that really quick. Khalil Herbert to me is a very redundant piece to Chase Brown, where the negatives to Chase Brown, like I don't think it's a bad move because they needed some depth, they needed some help, but Chase Brown, his biggest question mark has been pass pro, and that's why that's why they were using Zach Moss and hurry up and long down and distance. Khalil Herbert hasn't been that guy throughout his career. Like I don't know if they're expecting him to play that role. But I think if anything, you lean more into like Chase Brown right now because we know that, he's been in that system. He's been effective. And now his price has probably fallen as a result of Khalil Herbert. It's just, I think Herbert's a really good runner. It's just, you have to ask yourself, okay, why hasn't he been much of a receiver? Well, maybe it's pass pro. And I know that people have said some negative things about his pass pro and the coaching staffs have even said that he needs to improve on pass pro. And then, like, that's why they liked Zach Moss is because he was reliable. And now they get a guy who's not Zach Moss. Just kind of strange to me.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about Herbert, but I guess what they saw was like Chase Brown getting 32 touches.
Yes.
And they were
that's what it is. And That. And as Diego says in chat, he says, I think it makes sense the way that the Titans have Pollard and Spears. I don't disagree. Like there will be it's going to be like a, Chase Brown being the Pollard, let's say. And then, but the problem is Pollard and Spears can both be every down backs. Whereas Chase Brown, we still have the question mark of what he can do as like a pass protector and receiver. And you're not getting that deficiency with, you're not filling that with Khalil Herbert. That's the issue that I see, it's because Chase Brown is not necessarily a complete back right now. If he was, they wouldn't have been using Zach Moss all year.
How is Chase Brown so bad in the receiving numbers and like receiving efficiency?
They just don't use him on like third downs and stuff.
I mean, he seems like a fast, agile guy. I don't understand why he's averaging so few yards per reception.
Yeah, he was sick last year because he had those like big plays and he had like a ridiculous yards per route run as a result. But But I think he's good. I don't know. It just seems a little bit redundant to me. But anyway, let's move on from this chatter. Let's talk about some streamers. Last week, we do have to talk to the folks about this a little bit. I'll get to it in a second. Last week, quarterback Matthew Stafford 18, Bo Nix about 18, Derek Carr 13, Joe Flacco 3. Joe Flacco was horrendous against Minnesota, just terrible. At defense, we had New Orleans. They only had 3. They were terrible. Cincinnati had 10. Washington had 4, so not a very good week for streaming defenses. Tight end, though. We got to talk tight end here for a second, Denny. On Sunday, I DM'd Denny, and I said, hey, we should add Grant Calcaterra, AJ Barner, and then on a line after that, I said, and Mike Gesicki. And Denny didn't add Gesicki to the Living the Stream Patreon, but he did add the other 2. So what I'm doing, I do have Gesicki in our official like picks database or whatever. But if you guys think that this is all BS, I can even screen cap the DM that I sent to Denny.
Yes.
So folks know that this is not BS.
No, it's true.
Then I won't count it. It is a big, it is a big total. Mike Gesicki had 27 PPR points in that game. But if you guys think that it's fake news, then we will remove it.
I thought that we had already put him in there, and
we just didn't know that T. Higgins was going to be out at the time when we recorded.
And then I honestly did not see the Geske line in the DM. I just saw the Barner and the Calcaterra, and I was like, okay, we'll throw those in. Done, right?
Yeah.
And then JJ DMs me in the middle of the Bengals game when Geseki's going nuts, and he was like, oh, Geseki's putting up big numbers, and I'm like, yeah, so I was like,
right.
So
right.
What? And then I look back at his DM and I was like, oh God, what have I done?
In chat right now, we only have one person, which is Diego, saying no. He said if it wasn't posted, it doesn't count. Toronto Dave says allowed. Mitch says count it. Wardrobe malfunction. We got one that says too much work to BS us over. We agree. Yeah, I mean that's true. Why would we make this up? Like we've missed out on other streamers plenty, like literally every week, right? It's just that this one is different. Anyway, we did have Grant Calcaterra who had 8. AJ Barner had a 21% target share, Denny.
Hey, got that going for us.
6.7 points. Jonnu Smith 9.6. Zach Ertz, we knew it was a tough matchup, but he only had 1.5. And then Chigakonkwo 6.8. And Taysom Hill 16. Can't forget Taysom Hill. So overall, probably below average week, but not horrific. Denny, we got a lot to talk about this week, so let's get into the quarterbacks. And why don't you kick things off?
Yeah, I'm kicking things off with Russell Q. Wilson IV against Washington. The Commanders have a pretty good secondary. They do allow the 5th highest dropback success rate, and they are pretty vulnerable against the deep ball this season, generally speaking. So, that could be good for the moon ball, for Russ's moon ball. This game has a not hateful 45.5 point total. So you could do worse than Russ.
I like Aaron Rodgers, who's about 40% rostered, so it might be a little bit too high, but he's been averaging over 17 points per game over his last 4. Arizona is the 11th best matchup for quarterbacks by adjusted fantasy points allowed. And then also every week I do like a little matchup chart for patrons and stuff of looking at pressure rate. And one of them, the number one pressure rate advantage this week is the Jets, who don't allow a lot of pressure, versus the Cardinals, who don't generate a lot of pressure. So that's a good matchup for him. They have a pretty strong 22.5 point implied team total. I just, Rodgers has good weapons. He's not great, but I don't think that I think he's a pretty decent option. Like I would be surprised if he doesn't put up, at least a decent outing against Arizona.
The Jets have been pass heavy recently too, over their expected pass rate. And I think 3 of the past 4.
Yep.
Deep play, Derek Carr. This is kind of a sick one, but we only had the 2, so got to throw in the 3rd. Derek Carr against Atlanta. Here's what I got. This game has a 46.5 point total, which is not too bad. The Falcons' profile is something of a pass funnel, and the Falcons are allowing the 4th highest completion rate over expected. But still, Carr's pretty. You got to go pretty deep there.
We do have Daniel Dimes too. Against Carolina. Carolina is the 3rd best matchup for quarterbacks. The Giants have a 23+ point implied team total. Dimes is averaging his usual rushing production, not totally as usual, but 27 rushing yards per game this year, coming off a top 5 performance. I actually talked about this on the 15 transaction show this week. The Giants have the best passing schedule rest of season. Like it's really, really good. I think that if you pick up Daniel Jones, there's a chance that you can at least platoon him throughout the rest of the season because the matchups are so good. So to me, I like Jones a lot this week against Carolina.
He's rushing too.
Yeah. Last week he had a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. On to tight ends.
Tight ends. Let's do it. You kick it off.
All right. We have a lot, so let's just get through it.
We'll do it quick. Yeah.
Theo Johnson, Giants tight end, has 4 and 6 targets respectively over the past 2 weeks. So he's getting a little bit involved in that passing game. Shockingly, he's run the 7th most routes of any tight end this season. So he is involved in the pass game, whether we like it or not.
That's actually, I didn't realize that. That's pretty
shocking. Lots of routes. Yeah.
That he's that high. All right, we're going to go to Zach Ertz against Pittsburgh. He had a rough game last week, but the Giants are not an easy matchup. I'll talk about that in just a second. Pittsburgh is the 9th best matchup by adjusted points allowed. They've allowed the 5th highest target share, adjusted target share to tight ends this year. Ertz, as we know, we talked about him basically every week. He's had good route participation. He just had a down week last week. So in a game that, could be okay enough from a scoring perspective, I don't mind Zach Ertz.
Taysom Hill's ever expanding package is in play. 16 touches over the past 2 games, 3 of those in the green zone, aka inside the 10-yard line. Look, like I said on the Roto World Football Show with Pat Doherty the other day, when the Saints are banged up, then Taysom Hill happens. Okay, and the Saints are super banged up, so I think Taysom Hill is a very viable play in 12-team formats.
Mike Gesicki, this is mostly if T. Higgins doesn't go, but I think even if he does, because of this Eric All ACL, you could still consider Mike Gesicki, right?
That's a big factor, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, target share per game without T. Higgins, 19.4%. With T. Higgins, 5.4%. So, Gesicki has not been involved much at all when T. Higgins has been healthy, but he did hit a season-high 61% route participation last week. Baltimore, as we know, pass funnel defense. They've seen lots of pass attempts against. They faced. They're a top 10 matchup to tight ends by adjusted points allowed. I think Gesicki is okay if Eric All doesn't go, but I think that he's a smash not Eric. I think he's okay because Eric All is going to be out, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, you're right.
But then he's a smash if T. Higgins, and that's if T. Higgins is in. And then if T. Higgins is out, he's a smash.
Well, because without All, the theory is Gesicki can go from like 60% of the routes, like maybe 80% or more.
Yeah, and he was even lower than that for a lot of the year with All. Like there were games where he was only seeing like 30%. So like he can, even if he's in that 60% range with Higgins, I think that's okay enough in a matchup where they're going to be throwing the ball a lot.
I have a crazy stat on Gesicki. Over the past 2 games, he's been targeted on 29% of his routes, which is insanely high for a tight end.
That is like Rashee Rice levels earlier
right.
this year.
I mean, I should say it's insanely high for anyone, but especially a tight end. All right. Jonnu Smith, he's running basically a full complement of routes in the Miami offense. He has at least 6 targets in 4 straight games. You could do worse.
I'm going to talk about Jatavian Sanders real quick. I don't like the matchup. The Giants, like I said, they've actually been the best team in adjusted fantasy points allowed to tight ends. We saw that with Zach Ertz last week. But without Tommy Tremble, Jatavian Sanders has been seeing a lot of work. 21% target share last week, 35% 2 weeks prior. He's seen 5+ targets in 4 of his last 5 games. So, we're seeing decent usage, but I would rather play Gesicki. I would rather play Zach Ertz than someone like Sanders. I just think that it's noteworthy to call out because, you might even want to stash him if you're in kind of a deeper league.
And then the aforementioned Grant Calcaterra, running a good number of routes. He's caught 8 of 8 targets over the past 2 games in the very run-heavy Eagles offense, so keep that in mind. Also, A.J. Brown, I guess, should be considered questionable.
Yeah.
After leaving last week's game with the knee injury. So if he's out, I would like Calcaterra a lot more.
All right, moving on to defense. I'll start things off. The Giants, I think they're the easiest stream this week, especially because there's not many streamers out there. So you might have to be a little bit more aggressive than usual to get them off the waiver wire. But the Giants get Carolina. The Saints didn't work out for us last week, but the Giants are better defensively than the Saints. They're 15th this year in pressure rate. They're actually number 1 in the league in sack rate. I mean, they can get to the quarterback. They're 4.5 point favorites. I think the Giants are in a pretty good spot.
Falcons at New Orleans, 3.5 point favorites. My notes here say the Saints stink. So maybe just stream against them and it can't go too terribly bad.
Yes. All right, to recap, we got the Falcons, Giants, Taysom Hill, Theo Johnson, Grant Calcaterra, Jatavian Sanders, Jonnu Smith, Mike Gesicki, Zach Ertz, Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Jones. All right, let's get to Twitter. We have some questions from last week that we will kick off the show with, or the question section with. This first one's from @TunoSabe42.
Okay.
A burning question I've had for a few weeks now. Is Steak Knife Ob a real account or a puppet created by Denny and JJ to serve up only the questions that you want to answer?
No. Steak Knife Ob is just that good.
Yes, like if you're good, you get shout it out on these shows because you have good questions.
Right.
That's all it comes down to.
No,
we're not creative enough to come up with steak knife ob.
Also, we don't got time for that.
Yeah, right. People think that like we got all these like burners and this. No,
yeah,
doesn't
exist. Time for that. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but I like back when my all those parody accounts were active on Twitter of mine. You know,
are they not active anymore? Like I don't see them nearly as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of past, but
yeah.
People used to legit think. Thousands of people used to think that I controlled them, and I was like, so you think I'm insane?
Right. That's you're literally you should be like institutionalized for
it was crazy because there were like 25 of them.
Yeah. Yes. That's insane. But no, I mean, look, we're not steak knife ob, but you know, we love steak knife ob. There's great questions that come from that account.
Yeah.
All right. Next question at Vontae_Mac. If you could free one franchise from their owner for any reason, who would you pick and why?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mine's got to be David Tepper.
Yeah, he's kind of like holding that franchise hostage.
And it's my neck of the woods. I want it to change. He's obnoxious. I'm over him.
Who owns the Browns? That guy.
Yeah, I'm just blanking.
Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. Browns owner is Jimmy Haslam.
Yes, Jimmy Haslam.
I would do that because I think Browns fans, except for those who were enthusiastically all in favor of Deshaun Watson going there, are, you know, decent, like football loving people. And I would like to give them a winning owner, someone who actually wants to win.
Yeah. My brain is not functioning very well today, for the record, for because of the trade deadline, as we talked about earlier. Yeah,
because of the high stakes trade deadline.
Yes. Next question at N Dutton 13, our buddy Neil Dutton. What are the best throwback uniforms in the NFL, and what NFL team needs to desperately change their current uniforms because of how bad the Cardinals uniform is? Might have offered my own answer here. I don't have the reactions that others do to uniforms. I do when sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I do whenever I see some throwback stuff because nostalgia is like just inject me with it. But like I don't really have like super strong opinions about uniforms because people will find the smallest details on jerseys and be like, oh, this looks bad. I never see it. Ever.
I am not doing that. Yeah. I am not examining every inch of a uniform and being like, well, this looks like it did in 2002. So
yeah, like this zigzag wasn't there before. Yeah. And now, it's not like that for me. But
I mean, I will say that going back to 90s style uniforms, the Kelly Green Eagles, the Seahawks, the 90s Seahawks, 80s and 90s Seahawks, the stuff that I think that's cool. I like that, and I think it objectively looks better than their like 2000s, like 2010s.
Yeah, I will say that like the color schemes in like the 2010, like early 2010s, late 2000s. What do you call those? OOs? Like what do you even?
I don't know what you. I mean, 2010s are pretty bad though.
Basically, when I was in college and out of a little bit out of college, I didn't like the color schemes going. Like I hated. I don't like forest green type colors, like what the Eagles kind of have had.
That wasn't good.
Ugly, right? I'd much rather see the Kelly Green Eagles, but like also like I'd rather see like a lighter blue than like a navy blue sometimes, right? Like the Texans should have adopted Oilers colors.
Oh man, Texans are ugly. I mean, I feel like there's no way around it.
They're ugly. They should just go with like an Oilers color scheme. It would be sweet
late for that.
Well, now it's too late. Yeah, I'm just saying that they should have gone with. And then like the Chargers, they've slowly gotten better, a little bit better. But like the LT Chargers, LaDainian Tomlinson Chargers, those jerseys sucked. They're
terrible.
They need like the powder blue if you're gonna. But like they've at least gotten a little bit better. But I don't know. There needs to be more retro-ness going on with some of these, or if they're not going to be that way, go to the extreme like the Seahawks have done, at times with like their neon green look and stuff like that.
I like that.
Like I'd rather go that direction than have like the mundane, like dark green or whatever.
Isn't it crazy how like the Chiefs are just have always been in the exact same uniforms? Even the Steelers
Steelers have the Bumblebee ones. Though.
Yeah, even the Steelers do the weird throwback thing. The Chiefs never do anything. They're just
that's kind of true. Yeah. The Steelers brought back in their last game. They brought back the 70s Steelers because like the typeface is a little bit different on them. It's like the Mean Joe Green jerseys that they brought, and they have like different sleeves and stuff. They brought those back. I have a Bumblebee jersey. I have a Brett Kiesel Steelers Bumblebee.
Is that the guy with that crazy Unabomber beard?
Yeah, he had the beard. Yeah, he was the D end. That was like a staple for that era. Steelers is incredibly important to my life.
Sure.
I'm
sure. Yeah.
Casey remember Casey Hampton, their nose tackle.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Palomalu Steelers.
Yeah, the Palomalu Steelers. Like those defenses were so fun, man. They were just so good, and
they were crazy good.
Yeah, just so much fun. And Palomalu just doing crazy stuff. It was a very easy team to root for.
I have to say the Dolphins abandoning their horrible like postmodern sad dolphin on the helmet in favor of whatever they have today, and when they throw it back to the 80s Dolphins uniforms, those things are the sweetest things in the game. I'm sorry, like they need to be wearing those permanently. They need to just go back to the merino style. Dolphins.
I also you know what logo and uniform I like the Lions. I like the old Lions one with the two stripes in the background behind the lion. You know what I'm talking about? You should look at their retro ones. You don't like that?
I don't know if I'm into that.
The Lions jerseys are fine. I've always loved the Lions color scheme. I think that they're fine.
Oh, the Jets have recently gone back to 90s stuff with the full Jets on the side of the helmet.
The full Jets. Yes.
The full Jets. You never go full Jets.
Yes. All right. Next question is from @IamGroot2001. It says, "What is the correct way to make a PB&J? PB on one slice and jelly on the other, or both the peanut butter and the jelly on one slice?" And a follow-up question: have you ever had a grilled PB&J?
No. I mean, you got to put it on different slices, and then
I mean that's all. Anyone putting it on the same slice needs to be checked out.
I mean, how does that even work?
Your knife is going to be all jacked up. That's for sure.
That's a terrible way to do it. So obviously there's only one way to do it. I've never had a grilled PB&J. It sounds great though.
But you've probably had a fluffernutter before. Yeah.
What? Not since college.
You've had, but you know what a fluffernutter is. Yeah.
No,
not since college. No, the fluffernutter is when you have toasted toast. You have toast. It's called toast. It's not toasted bread. It's just called toast.
Yeah. Let's call it toast.
Yeah, and you have peanut butter on one side. Someone said fluffernutter. I thought this was a family show. You have peanut butter on one side, and you have marshmallow fluff on the other, and you combine them.
Oh, gross.
It's marshmallow fluff instead of jelly.
So what did you eat this when you were 12?
I don't eat it as an adult. I'm not sitting there, making fluffernutters at night.
Me neither. I'm too old.
Yeah, right. But no, the fluffernutters are great. They're great. I also don't know if people probably have different words to call this thing, and maybe it's just like a Midwest Pittsburgh type name for it, and someone, it's like soda or pop or whatever. But I've always called it a fluffernutter.
Again, I'd like to apologize to the kids.
I'm surprised we haven't had I hardly know her.
Yeah, right. Oh, that was right there for me.
It was really right there. I know.
Gosh.
I had to call it. I gave everyone time to call it out. I can't call it out on me saying it. You said
it enough so that someone in the chat.
That's right.
And you guys are way like more sharper than I am. So you guys should have been like,
you guys should have been honest. Yeah, I blame you guys for the 5 out of 10 podcast instead of it could have been a 6 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah, we will remain mediocre until morale improves.
That's right. Hey, by the way, we have another question from Steak Knife Ob.
Oh, look at that.
This is the first question of this show, but another as in we've had a lot from Steak Knife Ob. Favorite Pop-Tart flavor?
I mean, I haven't eaten a Pop-Tart since I was a teenager.
I couldn't tell you. The only thing I'll say is I think I have a gag reflex to the s'mores Pop-Tarts.
That sounds disgusting.
Like literally, I think I would vomit if I took a bite. Just there's something, I don't know if maybe I got sick once and I ate. I don't know, but I don't want to have anything to do with those. And people are going to be mad about that take because people really like the s'mores Pop-Tarts, if I recall.
What about brown cinnamon? Is that
I think so. I think that the classic strawberry is the way to go, though.
I don't know if I like that. The ones I used to eat were the brown cinnamon, and I like them untoasted.
Untoasted.
But I mean, again, I would not eat one today on a day.
Did you break off the crust and eat the crust first, and then you just had the middle part with the icing and stuff?
Oh, God, it sounds gross. But I think I ate
it does. I cannot believe how many Pop-Tarts I consumed as a child.
So many.
So many Pop-Tarts.
Hundreds.
So many Lucky Charms. So many Fruity Pebbles. So many. I can't believe how much I consumed of them.
Yeah. I had a phase. Where I ate this really sugary cereal that I can't think of right now. It's like honey flavor.
Honeycombs?
Honeycombs. There you go. Yeah.
We want honeycomb now. That was a cartoon. A commercial.
Right. I remember that. I honestly, I was like 19, 20, and I would eat like a whole box of honeycomb in one sitting.
Do you remember, like, wasn't there one waffle crisp?
Yeah.
They were just waffles, mini waffles that
I would gain like between 12 and 14 pounds if I ate a whole box of honeycombs right now.
Immediately.
Like while sitting there.
Yes. I also my go-to growing up, and then you look at it now at like the nutrition label, and it almost brands itself as being healthy, but you look at it and it's like worse than any other cereal known to man. But it was Cracklin' Oat Bran. You ever hear about that?
I feel so.
I feel like now in my 30s, if I ate it, I would immediately have to go to the bathroom. But it was a very sugary, like bran, like it was shaped in an O. I can't really describe it, but it was delicious. It was freaking good.
It is funny, those commercials, even for the most sugary, shittiest cereal possible. All of them were part of a balanced breakfast. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
And what they meant was, guys, you probably don't want to just eat this for breakfast.
Yes, right. You need to, or you don't. You probably should just ignore breakfast if you're going to eat this.
You're going to need some like toast. You're going to need some orange juice. You're going to need something with actual like nutritional value, because this is not good for you. But it is part of a nutrition. It is part of a nutritional breakfast, or part of a balanced breakfast.
Yes, balanced breakfast. All right, next question. This is from @AdamGolfA2. It's week 9. This is from last week. It's week 9. Injuries to key fantasy football players have piled up like never before. JJ's voice in your ears 2 hours a week is wearing on you. A sunny day no longer makes you smile. What do you do to break up the monotony of a grueling NFL season? Play some video games, bro.
Try to. Is this person asking for advice?
I guess.
I thought he was asking what we do.
What do you do?
I mean, I go to the driving range. I go on extended walks with the bad boy dog that I have.
Yeah.
Try to just touch grass, and I try to leave my phone away from me for a while during the evening, because that's not good to be attached to that stuff all the time.
Yeah. I've been gaming as much as I can with the boys. It's more so, it's not really like I'm playing, because in gaming you have like campaign games where they're like solo, that people. That's not what I play. I play multiplayer games.
Are you familiar with the game called Diablo?
Yeah, I know Diablo. Isn't Elon Musk like a top 20 Diablo player?
You saw that. You saw that. All right, I was just
Diablo's been around for a really long time.
Well, because I was reading that you would need to dedicate dozens of hours a week to that.
I honestly, when I saw that clip, I couldn't really comprehend it, because like you said, you need to like grind, I would assume, to be able to. He probably just hires people to play for him.
I mean, that could be possible, but I feel like so many like hyper super successful people are actually just messing around all day and like put on this like facade of like oh, I never stop working. Like obviously this guy's not working. He's playing video games.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of those kind of games, it's very difficult to just be like, hey, I'm top 20 in the world by not literally playing for hours and hours a day. It's like impossible.
I just don't like, where do you, and he has 11 kids.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some of his kids are playing for him.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Next question. At Chris H. Riley _ Are there any foods that you will only eat seasonally? I saw someone eating hot ramen outside in 90-degree heat and wanted to throw up.
Seasonally? I mean, I'm thinking of like watermelon. Like, I feel like watermelon would not be appetizing in cold weather.
Yeah, it's also just not good. No. I mean in that time of year.
Oh, okay.
Watermelon is fantastic, but you have to like bad watermelon. Bad watermelon is really bad. Like it tastes bad. Like it's just, I hate the crunch. You're not getting the sweetness to it. Good watermelon is arguably the best fruit on the planet. Like when you get a good piece of watermelon. And so we always joke because we'll get like cut ups watermelon sometimes from the grocery store. And Avery's obsessed with watermelon, and I'll buy it sometimes. I'm like, it's a good batch because I tried a piece or two. Like I know when it's a good batch or not. But yeah, I mean, like I think it's the typical stuff. Like I don't really like. I'm a really big Vietnamese pho fan, right? And I won't get that in the summer nearly as much as I will in the winter because you want to feel more. You want to feel cozy while you're eating that stuff.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, also, I guess I know you're not drinking much lately, but I'm not like dying for like a lime seltzer, a hard seltzer in the middle of the winter.
Yeah, or probably like a heavy IPA in the summer.
No, never an IPA.
But. Yeah, well, I'm like a darker beer goes better in the winter than it does in the summer.
I totally agree. Also, dark liquor is more appealing to me and not that I drink a lot of it, but like in the summer I would never even look twice at it, and then in the winter I'm like, it's Christmas time. What do you want from me? I'm gonna have a little scotch.
Yeah, warms you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Next question is from at Eric Belair, who's actually in chat right now. This is from last week. He said, serious non-poop question.
Okay.
Wife and I are planning on starting a family soon. When you each had your first kid, did you wait for the perfect timing, or did you just have the confidence that everything would work out for the best in the long run?
Oh, you mean timing the first kid?
Yeah, this is a very serious question.
Wow. I feel like unprepared, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think that you will never be ready to have a kid.
Right.
You will never be ready. But here's the thing. When you have a kid and you're a responsible adult, a reasonably responsible adult,
right,
you'll be fine. You can do it. You'll be fine. You think about all the idiots who have children and are raising them. You'll be fine. We know, Eric, that you're a normal human being. You got this.
I do. Yeah. I do think that the idea of being perfectly prepped and then in like perfect position in life to have a kid is just completely should be thrown out.
Yeah. I mean, look, yes.
You're never going to get there. You're never going to be like, yes, exactly now is the time to bring a life into the world and to raise this child. You're never going to be there. So don't try to get there.
Right. I think there are times where it's obvious to not try to have a child, right? Like there are instances where you're like, okay, I really have to focus on this with my job, or I need to be a little bit better financially stable to go and do this. But in terms of like your mentality of, if you're good financially and, you have nothing and literally the only thing that you have to get past is this idea of just, am I ready? Yeah. Like as a human, you're ready. You're fine. It's the other stuff I can understand more.
I also think the idea of like reading tons of books, the books can help, especially for a dad, because you're, largely probably unprepared for it because no one ever taught you that you're going to have to take care of a kid.
Yeah.
Because you grew up, as a typical boy maybe, but so that can help, but you also are never going to get to the spot where you're like, oh, I know like exactly what to do when this kid.
You're right.
Yeah. That's an on the job situation.
Correct. You figure stuff out. You just figure it out.
You do.
It's instinctual at the end of the day. Like a lot of the stuff that you do, you're just like, I didn't know that I was supposed to do it this way, or that I knew how to do it this way, but I did it that way and it was right. It was the right way. You just kind of know as a parent.
Diego Lopez in the chat thank you, Diego, for saying so. I wish I would have said this myself, but during the off season, football off season, I do a podcast called the Dad Season Show. You can find that on YouTube and Spotify if you'd like to check that out. I have a lot of stuff for new dads there.
Yeah, perfect. Next question at Rawls McCoy. Would you rather get $1 million in pennies or $500,000 deposited right into your bank account? Both are tax free. This is the easiest question we've ever gotten on this show.
$1 million pennies?
$1 million pennies or $500,000 just deposited? $1 million in pennies is what
$1 million in pennies. Because I was like, what is $1 million pennies?
Yeah. $1 million in pennies or $500,000 deposited?
I think you do the pennies.
You do the pennies and you just pay someone to manage it.
Yes. You give them $1,000 to manage it.
Yeah. You're not going to spend $500,000. I think this question would be better. Instead of $500,000, it should have been like $995,000.
Yeah.
Right. Because then you're like, okay, do I want to worry about the $5,000? Like, how much is it going to cost to have somebody manage all these pennies for me? That's a easy one.
I would find a younger family member or friend, and I would say, here's $1,000 in American money. I need you to get these pennies to the bank.
Someone said, Anthony says, what if the manager steals it all? Well, what if the bank steals it?
What?
The manager's not going to steal it. You got to get someone who's trustworthy, and you're paying them.
Yeah, no. I mean, you
also
should know the person.
You can't steal $1 million in pennies. That's the whole point. Have fun trying to steal that.
Matthew in the chat says 1 million pennies weighs 5,500 pounds, or one household after a year of
fluffernutters. All right, next question. At Justin White VA. You're not going to a Halloween party, but simply walking your kid around the neighborhood door to door. Do you wear a costume as the adult? All right, we didn't talk about what happened on Halloween because we were two days prior. Halloween. Yeah. So
did we? No, 2 days prior. Yeah.
2 days prior. So my kids are 6 and 2 basically, and we walk around with them. And fortunately, like I was saying on the show last week, like Avery's still into it and stuff. We dressed up. We were in a costume. You don't have to be in a costume, but I think it's fun to be in a costume.
It is fun.
We had a family costume. I tweeted it if you guys want to look at it. We were the Bluey family, and it was great. It was a lot of fun.
So I wore my Robin, as in Batman, costume.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was just the shirt. I wore the short shirt with jeans. I didn't wear the actual tights. My neighbors couldn't handle that. And I was trick-or-treating with my kids and their friends, and then another mom. So Melissa stayed home and enjoyed the evening by herself, which obviously I wanted to do for her. But I was with this other mom, and not every time, but almost every time we came up to a house, the adults would look at us and see me as dressed as Robin and go, "You should have dressed as Batman."
Oh yeah.
And we would have to painfully explain. While trying not to insult each other.
Yes.
That we were not together.
Yes. That's always awkward. But yeah, I think that you can walk around dressed up in a I don't think there's any problem either way. I mean, I see a lot of parents just like, I mean, they got kids that are like 12 and they're just over it. And they're like, I don't even want to do this anymore because I've experienced it. I had like, it is so much fun to me seeing my kids get excited about trick-or-treating. Like it's so fun. And like Avery had a blast, and like CJ's walking around in his little costume, and it's the cutest thing you've ever seen. And it's amazing. And like he started to get it, like realize how to do it based on Avery teaching, like walking him up to the doors and stuff. And like he got like 8 pieces of candy. He went to different houses and stuff. But that's fun. It's an American thing to do, to go trick-or-treating.
It feels like a dying tradition in some ways. I just feel like people don't really participate as much as they used to, at least in my neck of the woods. I will say that the kids love it though. And the reason I know that is because when we got home from trick-or-treating last, Thursday, my daughter, Eleanor, she was kind of morose. Okay. Like she was just kind of down, shoulders slumped, walking around the house. And I came up to her and I was like, "Hey, is everything okay? Something happened?" I'm thinking like, what did your brother do? And she just looks at me, she starts crying. She goes, "Trick-or-treating's over. Halloween's over." And I just, it sounds kind of weird, but it brought a smile to my face because it's like that. It meant that much to her. She looks forward to it and enjoys it so much that she was devastated when it was over.
We did the leave the candy out on the front porch thing because we went out and we wanted to trick or treat with the kids, and we have a Ring doorbell. And you could hear the conversation. Like you look back. Here's the thing. One of the buckets that we had out there was filled with Airheads. Okay. Like I'm talking, how thin Airheads are individually. Right. We had to it was this giant pumpkin that was filled with plastic pumpkin that was filled with Airheads. There had to have been 200 Airheads in there, right? Because they're so thin. I got back from trick-or-treating, they were all gone.
Oh, so people were taking 15 at a time.
And we had a sign that Avery had made that said, please take one, please. Because 6-year-olds are like obsessed with sign making. If there's a time where they can make a sign, they will make the sign, right?
So you're talking about some kids taking 20 plus.
Yes. And I went back and I looked at the ring and I couldn't find the culprit. I couldn't. I was really mad because I was hoping that I would just see the one person who dumped it all in. I will say this though. I see clips of kids doing that. People post them on the internet. Kids stealing all the candy. Their parents have failed them, and it annoys me beyond comprehension. Look, the kids are obviously are at fault here too, but if I ever have a child that steals a bucket of candy like that on Halloween, I have done a poor job.
You feel like you've missed something.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes. Yeah. I'm just truthful,
It's not the worst thing, obviously, but
they could be doing worse things, but it's just like the baggage that comes with that. You know what I mean?
Like basic like societal agreements on being honest with each other. Like when those are thrown out by a young kid, you're just like, wait, what? You don't have any basis for how to act like a person in a community.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Anyway, next question. At HMU Jahid1. Oh, it's probably Jahid. Sorry. What's a food combination that sounds weird but actually tastes great?
Weird food combination.
How about some eggs with beans on top?
That's your
all right,
thing.
Guys. How about that?
Thing. I would say chickpeas with red peppers on top.
Okay, that's what weird food combinations are we possibly putting together? I will. I don't even know. I don't do any weird food combinations. I remember there was a guy that I went to elementary school with that would eat bananas and wrap them with American cheese.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Which I might actually throw up because because of the trade deadline, my stomach's been a little bit messed up today. and I feel like I could vom right now thinking about that.
Let me tell you, the trade deadline has my pits in swamping me right now.
Yeah, we might have to cut it a little bit early because of the trade deadline.
Oh, it's just gross.
Next question. Steak Knife Bob has another one. Should there be a limit of how many times the guests at a wedding are allowed to clink their glasses? I was at a wedding this past weekend where they did it about 15 times, which also meant the bride and groom kissed 15 times.
That's too much. That's too much.
I think a max of 7 or 8 probably.
If that, I might cut it off at 5. I feel like you're just abusing the system at that point.
Right.
Look what I can make them do. And you don't want to do that to people on their wedding day.
Yes.
They're gonna, you know what happens in the wedding night? They kiss. They're gonna kiss later. So you don't need to. And that's all, by the way.
That's all they do, right?
That's what I was told. Anyway.
Yes. Right.
You don't do that to people.
Next question is from @rformate. It says, I'm turning 40 next week and glad to say I still have all my hair on my head. Okay. But no one warned me of the other hair changes that would occur. I have werewolf ears if I don't trim frequently, and my eyebrows are thinning, which Google claims is because I'm now low T. Am I alone?
Don't do that to yourself. Don't Google whether you have low T.
You know that. I definitely don't have the eyebrow problem, as everyone knows.
You don't.
The eyebrow thing is not. I definitely have a hair problem. I have hair everywhere.
You're a hairy guy.
I am a hairy guy. Yes.
I can honestly say, and it's not a bit or anything, I don't have any hair on my chest or stomach.
Do you have armpit hair? Did that happen to you?
Yes, in 1996, that happened to me. But yeah, no. So I've been so I'm 41, and I've been waiting for chest hair
for your first armpit hair.
because generally, JJ, I'm also a hairy guy. Like I have
Yeah.
like a pretty thick beard. Okay, even though people think I don't because
Have you ever considered like growing your beard out?
I have, and sometimes I'll go like 4 days without shaving.
You should do like a JD Vance beard.
Oh, please don't say that. Not now. Not
I'm
now.
just the trade deadline, right? The trade deadline.
God.
No. Look, I think that you could rock a beard. You should. I'm saying that length, not look like him. I'm just saying that length of.
I know. It's a weird. It's like a psychodrama for me because, so like my wife and like other people in my life definitely want me to try a beard. They want me to try a beard. Okay, and I could grow a nice beard. I believe that truly. I am for some reason married to this idea of me clean shaven, and I don't really know why. And I'm almost scared to like dive into that situation.
Yeah.
So like, why do I not want a beard that much?
Yeah.
But it might happen one day. We'll see. I mean, after 4 days, I get a lot of grays though. I know I'm not supposed to be. I know we're supposed to be fine with everything that happens to us as we get older, but a gray beard, I can't do that, man. I'm sorry.
I definitely I've got body hair. I do. But not much going on in the back. It's more frontal body hair.
I don't right. I don't have anything on the back. But like I have like a very hairy neck, like the back of my neck, you know?
Yeah.
Like I have to shave that stuff every like 2 weeks, and my ears. The listener just said they have werewolf ears. I do too.
Oh yeah, nose and ears can happen.
Oh,
nose more so for me.
The nose is so annoying.
The nose is not enough people talk about nose hairs.
Oh, why do I have to trim that stuff every 5 days? I just don't understand why. And
you're a scissors guy.
I'm a
right?
scissors guy.
Yeah, I can't. I do both. It just depends on like if I have the thing changed on the actual razor, the razor that I use in my face. You can change the setting, like have the different thing, the add-on, like the attachment. That's what I'm looking for.
One time in the 90s, my dad bought one of those early nose trimmers, right? And he he misused it, and he trimmed out all of the hair in his nose. So he couldn't stop snot from coming out.
Yeah. I think we've talked about it on the show before.
Oh.
There have been times where I am trimming my nose with one of those things and it starts to run out of battery. And so it goes really slow and it hurts like you wouldn't even believe, because it's just like, like very slowly getting the hairs out. It sucks.
Also, there's a listener that says, as an older Generation X female, I hate beards, keep waiting for them to go away. And yes, this is what I would say about beards. We're living in a golden age of men who should not have beards.
Yeah.
Right. Who grow it out of laziness. Right. And just like, I don't want to shave, so I'm going to have this nasty beard hanging off my face.
Yeah.
Or they lose like 4 hairs off the top of their head and they decide to grow a ZZ Top beard to compensate. Yeah. Like that. These are no reasons to grow a beard. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. We'll do one more question. This is from @PZantello40. What is the worst injury you have sustained from doing something stupid?
Oh, I got this one covered.
Go ahead. What'd you do?
When I played softball in my 20s, I used to be a hothead.
I think this is. I think you might have told this story like 5 or 6 years ago, but okay. I think you should tell it again.
Yeah, I used to be a hothead, like you wouldn't believe. Like I almost started like fights between teams like a handful of times. Like I intentionally mowed down a shortstop one time while rounding second because he had been trash talking me earlier. Like I bulldozed the guy, and then he's running after me, and he had to be held back by his people. He would have beat the shit out of me, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry to the kids.
Sorry to the kids. And so just completely out of my mind back then. I would never do that today because I don't care about winning or losing anymore. But so this one time I got caught in a rundown between first and second, right? Just stupidly, like for no reason, I get caught, and I'm going back and forth and back and forth, and I almost have it beat, and the guy gets me at the last second, diving back to first, right? And I'm exhausted. I'm pissed. Like, we were coming back in a game where we were down by a lot. So I come back to the bench and I immediately punch the fence. I don't know what else to say except for that I punched the fence. And I hear
like Andy from The Office.
Yeah. And I hear a crack in my hand. And it felt so weird. It wasn't painful necessarily, but it felt weird, right? So I try to cover it up, and I'm trying to pretend like everything's okay. Well, I go back out. I'm playing center field. I get a grounder to center field. I throw the ball in, and I'm telling you, my hand just pops.
Just
when
falls
I throw the
off.
ball. Just pop. And I was like, what just happened? And then my middle finger's like hanging weird now. And this bone, I know folks listening can't see, this middle bone had cracked in half.
Oh my God.
And so I broke my hand, and I was in a cast for 7 weeks because I punched a fence.
I'd say, wow. I haven't had a major, like, it wasn't stupid necessarily. One of them was in 8th grade baseball tryouts. It was a 5-day tryout. Day 1, night 1, I hurt my foot really bad. But I was like, you know what? I can't. There was something that happened the previous year where someone made the team basically because they got hurt. And I'm like, I can't have that be like, I need to make it, like reasonably. And so I didn't tell anyone. Turns out I broke my growth plate in my foot.
No way.
I tried out on a broken foot the entire week. I made the team, and then I was out for most of the season.
My God.
So that happened to me. I also once played pickup football. It was the last time I ever played pickup football. It was like in early college. And I went to wrap someone, and my finger got jammed. And I had that thing where the top of your finger basically ends up in the middle of your finger. It just gets jammed back. And it was some of the most intense pain I've ever felt in my life. I cannot comprehend how NFL players just get that pulled right back into place while they're on the sideline. Like, I needed like medicine in the ER whenever they did it.
It's crazy. NFL players are like beyond tough. Like, to call them tough doesn't really.
And the hockey players are even crazier than NFL players, but they're all nuts. Anyway, Denny, that's it for today's show. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at cdcarter13 on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter. You can find all my work on rotoworld.com.
I'm on Twitter at LateRoundQB. Check out all my stuff over on lateround.com. Everyone, I hope you enjoy the trade deadline. We will talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Living the Stream. We hope you enjoyed the internet podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes now. It won't take long, it's fast. For more fantasy football info, check out
LateRound.com and NBC Sports Edge.
Hope you come back soon as we share about the teams and as we live